Okay. All right. Can everyone see that? Everyone can see this?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's go ahead and start it up. Money. So there we go. A subject that is near and dear to our hearts. So let's talk about the situation today, today. As you know, the Ukrainian hryvnia is about, 28 approximately. Some days it's 27 and a half. Some days, it's changing every day, but approximately 28 of these guys for one of these guys. So, and as I was saying before, we've been visiting Ukraine for many years. And I remember my first year in Ukraine was 2004. And in 2004, it was five. Yeah, it was five of these guys to one of these guys.
505.
Yeah, 505. You got it. And wow, it has changed a lot, unfortunately, as you all know. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk about why that is, you're saying, what you move, right? Why is this? And one of the big reasons is this thing called inflation. And I don't know the word in Ukrainian.
Same.
The same.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, then you understand.
Yeah.
And it relates, of course, to the value, the relative value of your currency, your money in your country, compared to other currencies, right? And what it will buy. How much can you buy with a dollar or with a hryvnia? So in the United States, we're fortunate. We have a strong economy most of the time. And because of that, our inflation rate is low. In other words, the dollar keeps its value. It doesn't go down in value. So it loses a little bit. Every year we have a little bit of inflation. Prices go up a little bit, but not a lot. And so you can see big difference. Wow, big difference in inflation over all of this time. And so with this big difference, 8 to 14% inflation in Ukraine for many years, that's why this guy has lost value compared to this guy. So, and as a result, because of this low inflation, the dollar is what's called the reserve currency. It's the one that you like to keep because it doesn't lose value. If you have a dollar in your pocket, next year it's going to be worth $1. It's not going to be worth something less than that. And that's really important. So it's very interesting. You may not know this, but the dollar is actually used as official currency, or official money in many other countries, which is kind of interesting. They're not big countries, most of them. They're island countries. But there are a few larger countries like Ecuador and El Salvador in South and Central America. And then a lot of these, sort of smaller island nations, particularly those in the Caribbean or those in the Pacific, the Polynesian area. But when you visit there, if you have American dollars, you're good to go, You don't need to change your money. So, this chart will show you the size of the economies, right, of our two countries. And the Ukraine economy compared to U.S. economy obviously is very small. And because it's very small, it has a real problem, generating value for your currency. And that's one of the reasons why the U.S. Currency, it remains so strong and doesn't have this high inflation rate. So just to show you, oh boy, big difference, right? And of course, the size of the economy is another way there's another way to measure it. And I don't know if you know this term, it's called the gross domestic product. That's a fancy phrase. But what that means, you'll often hear it called GDP. And it's really it just means it's the size of the economy divided by the population, right? So Ukraine has that economy here, right, of $154 billion a year. And of that, with 43.5 million people approximately, you get this measure per person, and it's about $3,600 per person of sort of the size of the economy. When you compare that to the US, it's a big difference, right? We're about 65,000, even though we have a bigger population of 331 million people. So that's sort of how they start evaluating the value of each currency in each country. So yeah, that's a lot of economics, but it's good to know. So now let's talk about the average salary. And this is the annual salary. So for 1 year, this is sort of typical. And I know, no one actually makes this exact number, but it's sort of an average against the entire population. And in Ukraine, the average salary, the high and the low, and you put it all together and you divide by the population, and this is the number that you get. In the United States, a lot higher, right? And so we're approaching $100,000 now as the average salary. Now, these are pretty interesting numbers, and these are current. I took these for this previous year, so these numbers are pretty current for what we're looking at for what average salaries in these jobs would be. So, and Christy or Stas, help me if Christy's microphone's not working so well. But help me to translate in case some of these you may not know, but a child care worker, someone who cares for children. And so $33,000 a year. Store clerk, you're working in a shop and you're just taking money and making.
Продавець-консультант.
Is that what that is? Yeah, thank you. A waiter or a waitress in a restaurant.
That's офіціант.
Yeah. So about 32,000. So these are similar. Construction worker.
Будівельник, да.
Правильник.
Okay, a little bit higher. Not a bad salary. At the average actor, not Brad Pitt, but the average actor, who's working in small roles or working in a local theater or something. It's not a bad way to earn a living. It's not great, but it's not bad. And a musician, a little lower, not as high. Carpenter, someone who works with wood, where you're cutting wood. Yeah. Now a plumber makes pretty good money. What is the word for plumber?
Водопровідник. Сантехнік.
There you go. Yeah, plumbers in the United States, they get paid pretty well. They make a pretty good living. Yeah, it's an interesting when you look at these numbers. Plumber makes more money than an actor and a musician, and a lot more money than a construction worker, which is sort of interesting. And electrician, do you have is it
Electric?
Yeah. They're close. They're a little bit lower, but not bad. Electrician can make a pretty good living in the United States. And this is the amazing one, and Stas, you know this from your work. A truck driver, he doesn't require a great education or anything. They get paid a lot of money. Some of them not as much, and some of them a lot, depending on who they're working for and what they're doing. It's a tough job, though, because you're on the road every day. It's, it can be very monotonous, very boring, as we say. But yeah,
That's one-
$80,000.
Like with my company, that will be like 80,000 per year. So that will be a really lazy driver who sits at home mostly.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I'm sure with your company, there are many that are making over $100,000 every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the average gross for the driver, like for the with the drive-in trailer, is somewhere between $6,500 to $8,600 per week.
Per week. Yeah.
So it's the gross amount. Yeah. Then minus insurance, minus gas.
Yeah.
And everything. So basically, he is getting about like $5,000 per week.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And the interesting part is, in America, there's a great shortage of truck drivers. There aren't enough truck drivers. So if you are running a company and you need to have things move from one place to another, it's hard to find enough drivers to do that work. So it's very interesting. This job is actually in great demand in the United States. There you go. And then we've got some more. We've got some more jobs here. So school teacher. There you go, Christy.
65,000.
Yeah. So a truck driver gets paid more than a school teacher. Which is, not what you would expect, but that's the reality. Now, that's the average. There are many teachers, of course, making more than that. But it also means there are new teachers who are making less than 65 too. So yeah, school teacher is not paid great in the United States. However, if you're teaching at university, that's different. Yeah, university teachers can get paid quite a bit of money. And as many of you may know, we have many universities in the United States, more than 4,000 universities in the US. So there are a lot of teachers that are making good salary in the United States. And so is anyone doing IT? Anyone interested in information technology here? IT manager job, very good. Thank you very much. You can make a very nice salary every year. 106,000 is the average. So wow, that's pretty good. And if you're a programmer, pretty close to that. If you're writing applications or you're a programmer in C language or something like that, yeah, you can make a pretty good living in the United States.
And you can just sit at home and do that instead of as the truck driver just rolling all over the States.
Correct. Yeah, it's equal salary. Salaries aren't that different, and it's obviously a much easier job. Yeah, and then a nurse. Nurses are in great demand in the United States. There's a shortage of qualified nurses. And again, that's their average salary, $80,000. And of course, many of them make way more than that, way over $100,000 a year, just as a nurse. Now, a doctor, now we're getting into serious money. Yeah. And the education required to be a doctor in the United States is, it's a lot. It's almost 12 years of post-college experience. It takes a long time to be a doctor in America. And as a result,
in Ukraine, the situation the same, actually.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's many, many years of study.
At least 8 or 9 years,
Yes.
at least, even more.
Even more, yeah. So, and of course, these the universities where they attend in America, the cost is very high, right, to go to those universities. So to pay that, that experience back, to pay that tuition cost back, oh boy, the salaries are very, very high. And lawyers, is it advocate? Advocate, is that right? Yeah, pretty close. I mean, it's lower. But this is an average, of course, many lawyers making much higher.
That also depends on which sphere you're involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just doing paperwork and you're not doing anything that's big, the salary isn't so great. But if you're doing cases in court where you're arguing in front of a judge and that, wow, you're going to make a lot more money than that. Yeah. And then I thought this was sort of interesting. These last ones, it shows you the average salaries for the degrees, your education. So with a bachelor's degree, in the United States, it's a 4-year degree at university. It's about $65,000 a year. So yeah, not bad. Master's degree, a little higher, right? And then there's this one, Masters of Business Administration. Masters of Business. So if you're in business and you have a business master's degree, whoa, now you're going to start making more money because you're going to start working for larger American businesses. And many of you know that's where the money is. So yeah, you're going to make a much higher salary. And this is, I thought, interesting. A doctorate degree, if you get a PhD, you make less than a master's in business. Wow, that was amazing. So moving on. So this is, again, it's just an estimate, approximate numbers here. But this shows you what some of the big expenses are for Americans currently, based on our current prices today. So if you're renting an apartment or a house, the average, big average number, it's about $10,000 a year. And many times it's much higher, depending on where you are, depending on what city you're in. But, $10,000 a year. So if you're making $80,000, $10,000 right away is going to your rent, right? Now, if you buy a house, obviously that's different. It's not something you're paying every year, but you probably have a mortgage and you're paying something like this, but at least you own the house. The average house in America is about $250,000 a year. So obviously a big expense. And then we have taxes. Taxes. And in America, you have to pay your taxes. There's no getting around it.
It depends.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Christy.
So you have to pay 25% from your salary?
Yeah. And it depends on where you are and what state you are living in, because we have taxes for the national government, taxes for the state, and in many cases, taxes for the county and city. So like oblast taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, if you put them all together, you sort of, it ends up being, quite a bit of money. So if you made $100,000 in a year, you would probably be paying $35,000 in taxes. Yeah,
One third.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, we do get something for that money. There's a lot of services that we get in return, but yeah, taxes are high in the United States. They're not as high as in many places in Europe. European Union taxes tend to be a little bit even higher than this. But
that's why it is better to get unemployment benefits than
Yeah. Sometimes, although with unemployment, it only lasts for so long. It only lasts for a certain number of years. And then, yeah. So,
Пока.
Yeah, пока. Yeah, so, but the taxes are a significant expense, right? They're pretty big expense. And of course, if you want to buy a new car, in the United States, a good car, not a super fancy car, but $25,000 to $35,000 is quite normal to pay.
For a new car, right?
Yeah, a new car. Yeah,
For new. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is it now in Ukraine?
It depends on the car basically. But for example, if you'll take about which one? If Zhiguli, so the new Lada looks like something around 10,000. If you'll take BMW 3rd Series, that will be somewhere closer to 55.
Yeah.
Skoda somewhere around between 50 and 57.
Oh, really? Wow.
So yeah, so like if that will be Volkswagen, so that's also somewhere around like 55, 60.
Wow. So almost twice
Yeah.
as much. Yeah. Yeah. 2 times as much. Crazy, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
But Jeff, if you come back to the slide where you showed the average Ukrainian salary, so you can imagine how many years we should save our money to have a new car.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable.
First 10 or 15 years, we are just dreaming of a car.
Absolutely. I understand completely. I understand. Yeah. I mean, it's almost impossible, right? To save this money or to borrow money from the bank and pay,
Or borrowing money from the bank is a big problem because the situation is unstable. And there's the percentage of bank interest is too high. If we compare with German, they have not more than 2%. In Ukrainian, 15, 16.
Yeah, this sounds very familiar.
You have to pay twice.
Up to 25% for the interest rate.
Yeah. And you're right. Yeah, like Germany in the United States, it's about 2% right now in the United States. Yeah.
In very bad situation, but it can be even 0.5%.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. Well, some other ones that you may or may not know about, health insurance in America. Oh boy, really expensive, very expensive. You remember that we talked about doctors, making big salary. Well, just the cost of medical care is very high in the United States. So health insurance, wow, $5,000 a year right away. Whew,
But you get coverage for almost everything.
Yeah.
And the quality of the service.
Yeah, the quality.
Exactly. Exactly.
You pay and you're sure that you will get a proper treatment.
Correct.
Of a high quality.
And you're right, but it is expensive. And another one that some people don't necessarily know about is our car insurance is quite expensive here too. And our insurance is a little bit different than in Ukraine. It's not just what we call liability, in case you cause an accident, but it also pays for repairing your car, for fixing the damage. So
actually, in Ukraine, if you buy car in credit, you are obliged to have car insurance.
Yes. Yeah, you have to. Right. Yeah, the bank requires it. Yeah.
In Ukraine, it's it's a two-way. So if you are paying for the insurance by yourself, you can choose either you are paying just for the liability, so that will be about $100 per year.
Right.
It can be even lower depending on the car, depending on the engine what you have. For 1.6 liters, that will be lower. For 3 liters, that will be higher.
Higher, yeah.
But if you will choose to pay full casco, as they call it here in Ukraine, that will cover all of the expenses. If, for example, the car was on the street and the tree fell on your car because of a storm or something, so that will cost for something around $1,500, somewhere closer to that amount.
Okay. Wow. So that's a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course, food, groceries and things at the supermarket, if you have a family of 4, it's you'll find out. We're going to show some more pictures of that. It's a lot of money. It adds up.
Actually, Joel, I'm looking at your rate, and for my family of 4 people, we spend the same money.
Same, yeah.
The same, yeah. Because we try to write down all our expenses, and at the end of the month, I know for sure how much money I spent for grocery, for after school activities, for entertainment, for studying, for everything. And it's very interesting to have this rate at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I actually know how much money I spend for each point.
It's very expensive.
And for groceries, the same. It's about, we have 6 to 9,000 hryvnias per month. It's about even more.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a lot of money. And of course, if you have a car, if you are driving, gasoline price in America is actually a little lower, I think, than it is in Ukraine. If you do this calculation, you know, it's a big calculation. You have to get your, you know, your calculator out. But yeah, because we use gallons, this thing called a gallon, which is 3.8 liters. And, you know, if you calculate and you translate, yeah, it's about 20 right now, 20 hryvnia per liter. Yeah. What is it in Kropyvnytsky now to buy?
So 95th is like 30 and up to 32.90 or so.
Yeah.
And if that's 92nd, though, that will be somewhere closer to 28, 29.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. So you can see it's quite a bit lower in the United States. And then you know, if you're a big cable television, you like to watch cable television. In other words, you know, cable it's not in the air where you actually have a cable in your TV. It's very expensive in the United States. It's $2,000 a year to have this service. And then our mobile phones are also more expensive. Not the phone itself, but the service tends to be a higher price in the United States than it is in Ukraine. It's about $50 each month for mobile phone service for data and voice. And then what I tried to do here was take a few things from the grocery store and sort of compare them. So in America, whether you buy packaged bread or homemade bread, домашний, right? Yeah, домашний bread. You know, it's about from $1 to $4, depending on the quality and where you're buying it. And I know that's a lot higher than it is in Ukraine.
In Ukraine, in Ukraine, bread usually is somewhere around $1. Like,
yeah,
it's
about $1.
22 up to 26 hryvnias per dollar, so almost $1.
Somewhere in that range, yeah. Yeah, so to buy like домашний, like a standard quality bread, this would be $4. You know, this high quality, this would be $4 in America. So quite a bit more money, yeah. Milk. We're about $2 for, you know, we don't use liters, but to calculate, it's about 2 liters. So it's about $2 for 2 liters. Is that
pretty much the same? Yeah.
Yeah, similar. Yeah.
I got 2-liter bottle yesterday for 78 hryvnias. So that's a bit more than $2.
A bit more. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Eggs. So America sells them by what we call a dozen or 12. Yanni's now, I don't know why we do this, but we do. And so 12 eggs is about $1.50. Is that similar?
A bit lower here. So that will be closer to $1, like between 90 cents and $1.10, somewhere there. A
little lower price, yeah.
But for 10 pieces, for 10 eggs.
Yeah, for 10. That's right, because it's always 10. It's always 10 in Ukraine. So boneless chicken, in other words, chicken without the bones and the skin. So of course we use pounds in America, not kilos. So, but if you calculate, it's about $4 for a kilo. Is that similar?
It was somewhere closer to 90 hryvnias last time.
Yeah.
So 9.
Even
Yeah,
more.
as I said, like closer 90, 98 or something. So that's almost like $5 or so.
Yeah. So close. Yeah. They're not too different. Yeah. Yeah. And cedar, right? Cheers, cheese. We're about, for a kilo, or the equivalent of it, it's about $8 US. Is that similar also?
It also depends on the like quality of and the trademark.
But the average price quite the same.
Yeah, quite similar. Yeah. Yeah.
We are not talking about the craft cheese, yeah?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, and then pomodoro, right? Tomatoes, here we are. So $2.50 for a kilo. Is that, I bet you they're less, are they lower price in Ukraine?
Now it's lower, yeah.
A bit lower, yeah.
A bit lower, yeah.
$1.50.
Yeah, so a lower price that for, because they're grown in Ukraine. Pasta, macaron, right? Is it macaron? Is that the? Yeah. Pasta, $2 for a kilo.
Yeah, somewhere around that one.
Similar, yeah, similar price. Kartofla, of course, you've got to have potatoes. $2 for a kilo in America. Are they lower price in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, of course, if you have potatoes, you have to have mayonnaise. You're going to make, what is it? Salad Olivia? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta have potatoes and mayo. Yeah, we're about $3 for a liter. Is that high compared to Ukraine?
Maybe not, because we have like $1 for half of the liter.
Yeah. As you know, as you can see, it's different in America. We sell them in these jars, jars with the top. We don't have the bags with the little. Yeah. It's different. And then last but not least, you have to talk about chocolate. Chocolate is very important in our lives. Very important. So so this one, 124 grams. So this would be about $2 in the United States. Does that compare?
It depends on the chocolate in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We might have like one bar for $1, and some of those are about like 100 hryvnias or so. So that's almost $5. So it depends.
Yeah, so it really does depend on the quality too, and where it's coming from. Yeah.
And actually, the weight of the chocolate bar, we have about 90 grams, not more.
Yes, 80. Yes, right. That's right. They're like 80
So
some.
the
87.
price.
Yeah. Yeah. They're different. Yeah, hard to compare. Well, anyway, so that's my presentation on money. Let me just do that. Yeah. Okay. We're back. So yeah, it's a big subject. Obviously, there's a lot. But does anyone have questions in our remaining time on this subject?
Anyone who didn't talk?
Yeah, it's as I was saying before, when I was talking to Nellie before we started, over all of the years that Barbara and I have been visiting in Ukraine, wow, we've seen prices go up. Wow, so high. Wow. In 17 years, as I'm sure many of you have seen over your years, just crazy prices are going up so fast. And many of the things are for things very important, to your life. They're things you really need. And I know how difficult it is. I can't imagine how difficult it it is, but I know it's making life very, very difficult for many of you in Ukraine. So, but as you can see here in America, it's not as easy as you might think. You can find a job. That's the good news. The good news is you can find a job, but some things are expensive. Taxes are high. Healthcare is high. Some products are high cost, but generally speaking, if you can work hard, you can do okay in the United States. So we're very fortunate, and I try never to forget that. So that's it. If there are any other questions, anything at all?
No.
Everyone's so quiet.
I want to live here, but get the salary of from the
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
or at least my salary, but not in hryvnia, but in USA dollars.
Dollars, yeah, absolutely.
It would be perfect. Sometimes according to some requirements, so I'm work at university, and that we are obliged to do some scientific research, and it's not for free, it's not a secret, right? And especially for international paper, the price can be between 50 euros to 1,000 and half. So
wow,
it's quite big, because the average salary is about $400 per month. So you can imagine. So I have to save half of my annual salary to do my scientific work. And a lot of teachers working at universities, they try to find extra work to have their main work. So it's like, sounds ridiculous, but the situation is that it's not so good.
Yeah, понимаю. I understand. I really do. That's really tough. Yeah, I understand. Well,
and
anyway,
I feel that I work as a very, very clever woman, but when I get my salary at the end of the month, I think that someone who decides to pay me a salary, he or she thinks that I'm not very good.
Yeah.
Because, and sometimes even we think about to have less skilled, less qualified job with the goal to get more money.
More money, yeah.
And that sometimes we can just burn out on our work due to like low salary. So you can't work effectively for a long period of time. So you should have some benefits.
Yes. Yeah, I understand.
Like, to be motivated to work each time better and better to improve your qualification. Sure.
Wow, and well done in English. Your English is super.
Thanks. But actually, the price of studying in Ukraine is quite low to get like master degree and so on. It's quite, that's why I understand that to have a good education, high education, right, in university, college, and so on, it's quite expensive.
Absolutely.
And now the situation in Ukraine, the most popular position is for IT specialists.
Yes.
And according to last research from Forbes, so if you know the journal Forbes, we have 17 vacancies for one worker.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I actually do quite a bit of work with Onyx, which is located in Kropyvnytsia.
Yeah, I know.
I have been consulting with them for 3 years now, and I help edit their online website. I help edit their documents. So I'm involved with Onyx in Kropyvnytsia as well. Anyway, we're running out of time. thank you very, very much, everyone, for joining. It's great to see each and every one of you. And I hope we'll do this again next week. Christy, I will contact you with a new topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll do this again next week.
For sure.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jeff, you are the best as usual.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. It's great to see everybody. So nice to see so many smiling faces.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.